Welcome back to the show, everybody. Bow, bow, bow. Lupinranger versus Patranger number 16. Because you're a friend. Later in this review, it's gonna be a remix to the Golden Girls theme song. Bum, 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 bum. But I'ma stop the song so we can get to this review. But then you'll see I am the best in the business, cause all I do is win. All triple do is win. Bow, 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 winning. That was dope. But regardless though, number 16, because you're a friend. Now, there's something I want to do before we get to the bulk of what this episode was. The beginning of this episode. The beginning of this episode is some of the most educational moments in this show so far, right? We start this episode with a box. And trust me, and just trust me, internet, this box that they found inside of the crane vehicle is not going to come into play ever. They're going to forget this box happened. I really hope they don't forget this box, because I think that's White Sheep Gongler nigga's brother's box. So that would be Black Sheep Gongler nigga that ultimately will be brought back as some kind of monster by Goche, who made a brief appearance in this episode just to be boof. So we don't have to talk about her. But yo, like I said, the beginning of this episode was very, very informative, because we learned some magical things. Is that Gonglers are shaped around, according to what Jim Carter said, the way that he was trying to explain it, that the safe is the core of the Gongler, which explains why one of Goche's collection pieces work the way it does. That everything that a Gongler is part of that safe, and then everything is built around it. So I thought that was kind of interesting, that the shell, the outside of a safe hard as a fucking rock. The inside of it is delicate as shit, because that's the Gongler's actual body. And I'm glad that the show took 2 seconds to want to explain this so that we knew, because the show didn't need to take the time in any way to sit up here and explain how bodies of Gonglers work, because this is not biology. This is not really important in any way. But I'm glad the show took its time to say, hey, here's the thing that we're trying to investigate. But again, I really hope they do not forget about Black Sheep Gongler nigga. And I hope that they don't forget that this box don't come into play in 20 episodes or something, because that would be kind of dope. Now the actual episode. Because you're a friend. Remember, I sang a song about I went into the remix of the Golden Girls and all that. Remember, that was the thing we did, right? I appreciated that part of the episode for a very special reason. You see how hard the fan willing to go. I appreciate that, that this is the first time in a while Sentai's done switch bodies with the monster of the day, because I think if my history is correct, the last time a Sentai did this was in Ninja, because that's the last time I can remember that body swaps happened, and it wasn't body swaps of here are my boobs. So it is what it is. So the show handled it in a way that made sense, because not only did you get to see Toma act out of character because the monster of the day was possessing him, but you got to sit up here and really legitimately see the bond between the Lupinrangers, what they won't do for each other. I'm like, that was some of the best gun battles I've ever seen. That gun battle was dope. It's like Kyrie was sitting up here, he was slow playing it for a minute, and the fam get this nigga, and he got it. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate that that's how hard you willing to go. I'm on the other side of the fence, because I skipped straight to the gun battle and forgot the fluff in between. The whole thing of ultimately, the whole comic relief of Toma's been switched with this monster, of cops walk in, we gotta put him under a sheet. Before that, we need to find a way to get him in Bisto Jurel. And I'm just like, yo, this is stupid. The cops show up into this thing where the Lupinranger sitting up here fighting a monster and not understanding what the hell going on. And yes, I have gone completely and utterly backwards in telling you what's happening in this episode. But it don't really matter for real, because what's important is that gun battle and it's as soon as Kyrie and Toma had that serious moment of understanding, and yo, It's all for one fall on the Three Musketeers. If one of us fall, we got to do what we got to do. He sat up here, had a second to think about his boo and everything. But yo, if you can't get my body back, you can't get the collection piece back, then what is it really worth? What it is that it's going to take to do what needs to be done, the Lupinranger show, they willing to do whatever it takes. I'm like, Kyrie shot himself in a damn hand so he wouldn't have to shoot Tuma for real to get the monster of the day to switch back. They then sat up here and delivered upon the monster of the day the most gigantic L this show has ever seen. They called Good Striker showed up like, yo, you want to be three niggas? Bet. Yo, get them scissors, get them cyclone, murder fools. And I'm just sitting up here like, damn. And I'm just like, damn. But I'm like, I appreciate this episode because, again, a lot of the comedy came from the cops, though. A lot of the things came from the Patrangers because, especially when they showed up at Bistro Juror, they like, yo, what that boy told me? Like, I swear we saw him. He ain't make it back. Nah, cuz he upstairs sick. But, you know what I'm saying? Let's sit up here and let's sit on the monster. Let's kick the monster. Like, let's sit up here and make this tense moment where Tsukasa goes and sits up here like, I'm catching a mosquito. I'm like, this show hella dumb. I'm like, I laughed so hard at that. Like, it's crazy. I laughed so hard at that moment because that was dumb as hell. That was just dumb. I'm like, this show is starting to really find its stride comically. And it's like, you really sit up here and you really say that about a Sentai. It's like a lot of Sentais don't get an opportunity to find themselves comically. Like, every now and then you'll get a ha-ha. But again, like I say, we trying to build up two separate teams of Rangers. We trying to do this. We trying to sit up here and get over the seriousness of the plight of the Lupinrangers. And get over the seriousness of understanding of what being a cop means and protecting the peace and all that old good shit. It's good to have moments like this. It's like, it's the reason why I appreciate Kamen Rider so much, especially Build this season, because of how much humor they inject into something very serious. Like lately, that I don't get a chance to say this on Bill, but I'll say it right now. A lot of the humor's been injected into like the recaps versus the show, but when the show do something funny, they go off the chain. And I really think that over time, while we're going through this show, the show is going to find itself in more comical situations because of the versus series, because of the versus motif that the show is using, and you have to find a way for these characters to interact, and you have to find, like, because again, we talked about it last episode, about what, not the last episode before that, about the building of these relationships of mutual respect, of crushes and love and just dumbness and just everybody doing a thing. And I'm like, and I appreciate that the show is going out of its way to sit up here and to let that rock and let it happen. And so I'm like, this was a great episode overall. Like, the end was dumb. They sat up here like, yo, they straight clowned the boy. They like, yo, man, don't lie to your friends about going out, but it's like, he's sitting up here like, man, hey, yo, Kyrie, yo, Gilmy could back me up. No. And I'm just sitting up here like, word, like, you letting the cops flame you. And I'm just sitting up here like the whole middle of the episode where the monster sitting up here taking selfies and tricking out for hoes. I was sitting up here like, word. But hey, it's true what they say. It ain't tricking if you got it. But I don't know if Tuma has it because I don't know how much money he got. And I'm like, he was doing something else. He was making, I think I understand that. I remember he was working at some high-ass fancy restaurant as they top chef. So he probably had some money in the bank. And I'm like, probably the gondola spent all his damn money. It's hot in here. But yo, great episode overall. Like, yo, I just really liked, again, I liked that we spent the opening sequence, the co-open, explaining how gondola bodies work. Then we switch bodies. Then bodies get taken L's, and then the day is saved. You gotta love that. So, you know what I'm saying? Yo, it is what it is. I thought I had something I wanted to say, and there was nothing to say. Well, actually, yeah, there is. Shout out to the synagogue, my man Minister W holding it down, bringing in the sheet. Shout out to the lab. Shout out to all of y'all for holding down, for coming through when there are Sentai reviews. I appreciate that. Thank you. But that's going to conclude this, but we've got more show for you. So for now, we shall bid you adieu and go to these commercial messages, and we'll see you on the other side, and you better be here. So once again, I do.